You know what it is. That's right. It's time to talk money with your money nerd and financial coach. Now, tighten those purse strings and open those ears. It's the Money Talk with Tiff podcast.
Hey everyone, today I have Adrian Quarles on the line. Now, if the name sounds familiar, it should, because he was on the podcast, 3 years ago now, back in 2020. And in that episode, we talked about overcoming homelessness and his journey, how we met, all types of stuff. So go back and listen to that episode because it's really inspiring. Matter of fact, Adrian, I meant to tell you this before we went on, but I gave that episode to a few people that were experiencing homelessness, and they were like, it was so impactful and so helpful for them. So I appreciate you, and I just wanted to let you know.
Thank you for telling me that. My head just got bigger and I just gained a few more gray hairs because I feel wise now.
You are very wise. So how are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. I'm doing wonderful, and them words that you have just sent my way, the words you just sent my way have enhanced my wonderful feelings. So thank you for that, Tiffany. You have granted me greatness in the midst of my quarrelsness. See what I just did there?
I see what you just did there. So, by the way, y'all, Adrian, he is a playwright and a poet. So he's very crafty with his words.
I try.
Right. So, but for the purposes of this episode, though, I want to get into, because in the last episode, we talked about how you were producing plays, even in the midst of the pandemic. You did some virtual plays, you did an in-person play, but I wanted to talk about how you were able to pull these off on a shoestring budget. So if somebody's listening to us right now and they're like, oh my gosh, I want to get my story out there on the stage, but I don't have the money to do so. What are some tips and things that you did to make sure your production got out there?
All right. Well, I promise you, I'm not going. I'll try my best not to give the long answer, but kind of like the mid. Well, it won't be mid, but pretty much. First of all, I'm going to reference a name that a lot of us know, Tyler Perry. I looked at how he went from sleeping in his car, being homeless, and making different sacrifices to funding the Medea plays that we've all come to know, and some love, some despise, but they were good. And then I would see people like James Lyons, like Tamika Allen, and others doing it more on a local level. So first you have that you have the inspiration of actually seeing people doing it, and then I went with my growing theatrical repertoire, resume, experience. And while growing like my theatrical resume, I would have conversations about what it takes to put up a play with, like, I remember once having a conversation with a man by the name of Norman Ushery, who just passed away not a couple weeks ago. Rest in peace to him. And I would I was just like pay attention to some of the budget talks that were going on between the directors and the stage managers. And so then I would like pay attention to the commentary about Tyler Perry's um about how he produced his works. And one common trait with all of his plays is they all had a target audience. So first thing first is you want to have a target audience. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I were to try and present like a super Afrocentric, Afrofuturistic play to kind of like a super conservative rural population, I probably won't get that much turnout. You know what I'm saying? But if I were to like present it to a wide generational HBCU, black church, even black mosque audience, I probably get a good turnout depending on how I market it. So that's the first thing. You gotta know your audience. Second thing, find ways to save money to finance it. Like, yo, I got a friend by the name of Keisha, a dope actress, dope poet. She said on my podcast, ADQ's Renaissance, she said on my podcast how she took a paper route to finance her play, What Fairy Tale, right? And Tiffany, you the side hustle queen, right? You have to have a side hustle along with your main hustle in order to finance it. Because don't be out there looking for producers. I would say be your own producer. Because what does it take to produce stuff? Money. Take your money, get a side gig, stack your paper. Like when I was putting together time, I was like making payments. I was stacking my paper and making payments, right? And make sure, and by the way, make sure you get liability insurance. You want to make sure that if someone, like if a roach was to fall on someone's face, that liability be taken care of, or else that will bite you in your behind. Um,
Not a roach on the face, though.
that was the most random thing I could think of.
Not a stub your toe, trip on the stage.
Hey,
a roach on the
some of these theaters have roaches in them. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. It's like, yo, roach, do you want a part in the play? Otherwise, get away, or else I'll kill you.
Oh, that is funny. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. But so make sure to have your paper stacked up. You know what I'm saying? I would say to be on the safe side, stack one a stack, two stacks, three stacks, because not only do you want to be able to finance the presentation of your play, the marketing of it, the liability insurance, you also want to pay your actors, because I promise you, if you pay your actors, they will have a deeper incentive to give a performance that will continue, that will draw people right back to your play. It's something about them dead slave owners on that green paper that motivates people. It makes them feel very much appreciated. So that's one. So
Mm.
and you should make sure to do that. Make sure that your actors, those who are working up under you and working for you and working with you, feel appreciated. Now,
Mm.
while budgeting, making a budget, you need to make a budget. Make a list of things that are going to cost money and how much they do cost. Because, there are people who would be willing to promote your work on a podcast and a radio and on the radio station and on their web show or whatever. And yet there's also people who, you gotta like go the payola route to pay to get something. Or advertisement in a major newspaper or a major podcast or radio show. Some will do it for free, just be friendly. Some will do it, you know, some will do it only if you pay, right? I will also say among the budget, look at how much you have to actually spend on the play. Like, do you need these $100 props, or can you get it with even lower amount? Like, I recently directed a play called Here's Fluffy for the Evening Short Plays downtown, and I was about to buy a $24 $12 can of antifreeze because it fit within the play, right? But then I thought, how about we see if somebody might have an empty one laying around? And actually, I had a friend in Winston who did,
Mm.
and he got it to the theater for me. That's how you cut.
Mm.
That's how you cut costs. You find ways to cut costs and try to make the most minimalistic presentation possible. Like, I think that the most expensive play ever on Broadway is Spider-Man After Dark, right? It bombed. It bombed.
Mm.
They did not make back the money that they spent on it. So, find ways to cut costs. But I would say more than anything, the most important out of all of that, pay your actors. Pay your actors, because it'll be your actors who really sell your play.
Gotcha. You dropped so many. I'm like, where do I want to start
I
first?
didn't even
So
mean
I
to say
think
all that. I'm sorry, you got me on the roll, yo.
no, I love it. I love it because I didn't even think, just that little tidbit of, oh, I need an antifreeze container instead of buying one because people don't know if it's full or not. Let me just see if somebody has one sitting around, which I think I have one in my garage right now. So it's like, just thinking about those little money saving hacks. I think that's just genius. And I also wanted to hit on how you were saying that, cut your costs as far as expenses are concerned, but make sure you pay your actors. As a creator, I'm like, yes, please pay your people.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
if you take care of them, they will take care of you. And so I'm glad that you brought that up as well. And then I also wanted to go talk about like venues, right? So how does that work? Like if I have a play that I'm trying to put on, because I'm not privy to anything in this realm. If I
Yes,
have
you
a
are. Sorry. Yes, you are. Go ahead.
wait. Let's stay there too. Hold on. Okay. All right. With you saying that, how do you see that I am in this world? I'm just curious now.
Okay, so here's how. First of all, Tiffany, I could tell that you have an affinity for the arts. Second of all, you're a speaker, right? Not only
Yes.
that, but you're a podcaster. So, you're a podcaster, you're a speaker. So, you have had to fill up rooms or build
Mm,
or auditoriums filled with people to listen to you talk, espouse
mm,
your economic expertise, right? What
I never
is
thought about it like that.
what is theater other than telling a story or distributing a certain narrative to a number of people, right? That is what you are doing. You are distributing a narrative that helps people think about life. That's what theater does. Good theater, anyway. It helps people think about life. People are looking at you. They are tuned into you and all your greatness, and they are watching you talk about the wisdom that you have attained through your hills and valleys of financial management over the years, and they are watching you, right? That's what theater is. Theater is people giving the hills and valleys of the character in the particular story, and
Mm.
being affected one way or another. That
I love that. I love that. See, okay, now you have me thinking about it different. So
You are a
if there's
performance artist. That's what you are doing. It's performance artist. Yeah, you're probably saying, well, you want to budget this and you want to look at your 401k in like 30 years, this, that, and the third. Yes, but you are putting thoughts and a particular narrative into the minds, hearts, and souls
mm,
of those who are tuned in. That's why people love Tyler Perry's plays, because a lot of them were Christian based and they were putting that particular narrative into people who were struggling in life in some sort of way. And people who are tuned into your messages are struggling in life in some sort of way. They need money management. That's why they're broke. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha. So now that you say it like that, that makes complete sense. So even if you aren't like putting on plays or acting in plays or any type of stage thing, if you are a speaker, you are also in a theatrical performance. And I never thought about that. So thank you for broadening my view of what theater is. Okay,
I have
now that
no
we got that out
quarrel
the
with
way.
granting you that.
All right, so now that we got that out the way, let's talk about my original question, which was going to be so when you're approaching these venues, first of all, how do you find a venue to put your play on?
Um, I would say that Google, word of mouth, they're your best friends. Like, a lot of the local community theaters here in Greensboro and also in Winston-Salem are willing to like find a date in their performance calendar in which the venue will not be used, and they're willing to book it out because, Tiffany, theaters
Mhm.
are broke. You will
Mm.
not make any money. If you're in theater to make money, you're in the wrong business. In fact, theaters can very much use your financial expertise. So they're looking for different ways to make money. And one way they can make money is by by renting the theater out. Now you may have a more difficult time renting out a college theater like over at UNCG or A&T or Winston State, but it is possible depending on the place. Like if you were to go to Community Theater Greensboro and say, I want to rent your Star Theater, you can do that. You just gotta find a date when when it's not in usage. If you go to Creative Greensboro and say, I want to rent out the Stephen D. Hayes Theater, you can do that. It just got to be a date when it's not in use. Find that date. Make sure to schedule your play around that date, right? If you're independent like I am, there's going to be times when you may have to rehearse on Zoom, Google Hangouts, or at the nearest coffee shop, because you may not be able to rehearse at the venue because you got to spend a large amount of the budget on even booking out the venue for 1, 2, 3 nights, right?
Mm.
Me, I booked out time over at Call Clue Multicultural Center for one night. Then like 3 months later, I did 3 nights as a part of the cast of Truman Capote's Holiday Memories over at the same venue. It was 3 nights. It was booked out by Triad Pride. So I would say, in booking it, call them, give them, I would say call the theater, right? Call the artistic director of the theater, whoever's running the theater, express interest in booking it, right? And make sure they have a plan of how you are going to get behinds in the seats, because I don't think any theater would be interested in lending their venue out to someone who is going to where it's just going to be the performers and the roaches, if there are roaches. Um, Hey, you look around some theaters, you're going to see a popcorn kernel or two laying around, and there's going to be a La Cucaracha ready to eat it up. But a theatrical venue would like to know your plan on getting people there, your marketing plan, and how you are going to pay it all off. Now, if you are able to pay it up front, great. Then you can worry about paying for the marketing, paying the actors, and paying the liability insurance. But first thing first, make sure to have it in your budget to pay off the venue. And the venue are and if you have and if you could convince the venue that this is a winning production that's going to draw money and draw interest into the venue, because the venue is also marketing themselves in the play, right? Who knows? In the program of the play, you give a little shout out to you could give a little shout out to the venue, and somebody might go on the website of that venue and be like, okay, yo, what plays are going on here? Because I'm seeing posters of this, that, and the third. So it's a partnership, really.
And I'm glad you brought that up because, like, first of all, I didn't know how this works. So I'm glad I asked the question, but looking at it in terms of a partnership. So when you approach the venue, they give you the price, and then in some cases, they give you the option to pay it up front, or you can pay it after the production. Do they
No.
ever also? Oh, go ahead.
Nah, sorry, but nah, you have to have it paid off by. Normally, you have to pay it off within like
Um,
a week or two before the production.
Okay, okay. So have you ever seen, and this is just my brain going,
Good.
where
When your brain
theaters
goes, people
will
make money. Go ahead.
right? Have you ever seen where theaters will do like a percentage of ticket sales?
I've heard of that before. I haven't seen it personally, but I have heard of that happening. Yeah, I can't think of any time right offhand, but I know that happens. Like I do know that Triad Stage.
Mhm.
That's not, yeah, Triad Stage. I'm tripping. Triad Stage. Sorry, 37. Triad Stage. Their whole equity is based off of percentage of the ticket sales. In their whole existence as a theater company, as a regional theater company.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay, that was just my brain going to see like, because when you said a partnership, I'm like, oh, well, are there other ways to like negotiate this if you don't have the money up front? You're like, hey, I know this is going to bring in a lot of people. I can maybe do half up front and I could give you a percentage of the ticket sales,
I
or what have you.
I think, like I said, I know that there's theater companies who do operate like that. It just
Mhm.
depends on who. So that notion wouldn't be far fetched, but I would imagine that if the theater company was going to cut a deal like that, it would have to be like a certain percentage up front, like 50, maybe 75% up front, and of the ticket sales, get a percentage of that.
Absolutely. So, Adrian, we just scratched the surface, but you gave so many good tips. And I especially love how you said, in order to cut costs on actually practicing, doing it over Zoom, just setting up somewhere in a public area and practicing. I think that's definitely thinking outside the box. And we didn't even get to talk about how you put together plays that were actually given via Zoom, which I attended one. But maybe I'll just have you again for the third time
Hey,
so we can
I'll be totally
discuss
cool with
that.
that. I would be totally cool with that. But I would say to you and to I would say to you and your listening audience, I would say that in any medium that you possibly can, cut costs. Like, I would say have a thrift store mentality. You go to the thrift store, you're going to buy clothes that you will probably find at the mall for that costs like $100 more. Have a thrift store mentality. What can you purchase? How can you contribute to the play without it cost you a whole lot of money?
Gotcha. Thank you so much for that. And if you all are interested in learning more about Adrian and his podcast, which we didn't even hit on that either, he gives it's all for creators and people that make content. Matter of fact, just go ahead and tell us where we could find you if we were interested in
So
finding
if
you.
you wanted to find me, which this is not to the stalkers out there, but if you wanted to find me, you can find me on YouTube. I got my own YouTube channel, Adrian Dion Quarles, ADRIAN DIONQUARLES. You can see films that I've acted in, poems that I put up, episodes of my podcast, and also if you looked at my incredibly fat frame in my podcast and said, "Sheesh, I don't want to see this guy taking up all my screen," I have audio episodes. Thank God I'm not that big anymore. But anyway, you can find audio episodes of my podcast, ADQ's Renaissance, on pretty much anywhere where podcasts are found. You know what I'm saying? All you gotta do is just type it in Google, ADQ's Renaissance. You will find it. I'm on let's see, Spotify for podcasters, Audible, Amazon, Spreaker, iHeartRadio. I'm out there. I'm trying to be great like you, Tiffany.
Cut it out. Thank you so much. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. And if you all didn't catch that, I'll have all those links that Adrian just said in the show notes. So check those out. Very dope brother, puts together really good plays. And I'm just excited that he was able to share his knowledge with you all today. So thank you so much, Adrian.
Thank you for having me. I promise you, I am blushing like a Christmas light right now. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening, joining, and being a part of the Money Talk with Tiff podcast this week. You can check Tiff out every Thursday for a new Money Talk podcast. But if you just can't wait until next week, you can listen to previous podcast episodes at moneytalkwitht.com or follow Tiff on all social media platforms at Money Talk with T. Until next time, spend wise by spending less than you make. A word to the money wise is always sufficient.